Allow me to introduce our speaker, who's very close to me as he's my boss for quite a number of years. Our speaker for today is a senior managing director in the corporate finance practice of FTI Consulting Philippines, Inc., and an adjunct faculty of the Department of Finance, Accounting, and Economics at the Asian Institute of Management. Over the past 15 years, he had extensive experience in transaction advisory, corporate and debt restructuring, valuations, mergers and acquisitions, financial due diligence, financial modeling, and financial model review. He has assisted in several cross-border engagements in the Philippines, China, Hong Kong, Indonesia, and Singapore. He has been involved in projects across a range of industries, including energy, infrastructure, real estate, banking, outsourcing, electronics, mining, and manufacturing. His recent engagements also include the preparation of financial models for PPP projects, both solicited and unsolicited, in the infrastructure, transportation, and payment system space on behalf of consortiums formed by major Philippine conglomerates. He has also prepared financial models for renewable energy companies, toll roads, water districts, schools, and shipping companies. Prior to joining FTI Consulting, he was an associate director at Ferrer Hudson. His career started in the corporate finance group of SGV, or Ernst & Young Transaction Advisory Services, in Manila. He finished his executive master's in business administration with honors at the Asian Institute of Management. He graduated magna cum laude from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, with a bachelor's degree in business administration and accountancy. He is a certified public accountant and a CFA charter holder. He is the current treasurer and a trustee of the CFA Society Philippines. He is a member of the CFA Institute and Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountants. Let us all welcome Mr. John Balce, CFA.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Alvin, for that very generous introduction. I'm actually surprised that you are the moderator of this session. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me. It is a privilege for me to be able to share my truth to all of you, and hopefully this session will be inspirational, hopefully, to you guys who are attending this this webinar.
All right. I must say, definitely, I think this webinar series would be very meaningful to everyone, as I know Sir John for a number of years now, and talagang marami akong nakukuhang learnings at natututunan kay Sir John. And in our work, actually, in FTI Consulting, we consider Sir John as our guru, sort of, in financial modeling and valuations.
So, si Alvin na yung nag-take over ngayon.
Di pa?
Yeah. Okay.
To start, let us talk about maybe yourself first, so that we could know you better, and to understand your career path and how you started in the finance field. Maybe first question is, why did you pursue finance? Is it something that you see yourself at when you were young?
Yeah, well, not really, no. Actually, when I was young, I wanted to be an engineer because my father was running a construction firm before. And, being in the company of engineers most of the time, para you kind of build on that, that dream that, one day you'll be able to build this building, help construct this road, etc. But Asian financial crisis hit, my father said, walang pera sa engineering. So he said, why don't you go where the money is? Why don't you do accounting na lang? So I said, okay, because I kind of thought of myself naman as very decent as far as math is concerned. So I said, okay, if not engineering, then I'll try out accounting. I felt that I was decent at it. I was not like the top, guru, you know, godfather, godmother of accounting in my batch, but I was decent. I did graduate with honors back in college, but um, I didn't get to really participate in competitions. You know, I had my own share of disappointments in not being part of any of those accounting competitions, Phoenix or whatnot. Um, and then I also failed to top the boards. You know, that was a big blow to me. I was kind of hoping that I will get to be part of the top 20 in the board exams, CPA board exams. And I kind of realized through all these, you know, experiences that maybe accounting is not really for me. I said, maybe I'll try to pursue a career, you know, a different career, no, similar but a bit different, and that led me to this path, no, which is financial advisory. When I was in my third year, I was able to get into an internship with Punong Bayan and Aralio, which is now part of Grant Thornton, and I was accepted in the corporate finance department of PNA. And there I got to learn about, you know, this particular, you know, side of things na, you know, um, beyond the financial statements that accountants prepare and the auditors check for materiality, etc. um, the financial information that is being generated out of the accounting systems, etc., have a strategic value. And that is where financial advisors come in, you know, trying to make sense of the numbers, trying to make sense of what's happening in the business environment, and trying to help clients craft strategy around, you know, everything that's happening in the micro and macro environment. So that was kind of interesting for me. So I said, okay, I'll try to pursue a career in financial advisory after taking the board exams. Unfortunately, when I applied in SGB, wala pang opening sa corporate finance department nila. So I stayed for a little bit sa tax group in the tax division. But after 4 months, I was able to get into transaction advisory services. So that was kind of my you know my career path. Um, you know, my just wanted to share. My daughter was asking me, "Daddy, what do you do? You know, I want to be like you someday when I grow up." You know, similar to, you know, my perspective, wanting to be an engineer. You know, my daughter's now telling me, you know, I want to, and she said, I told him, well, I'm a financial advisor, and she's like, what's that? Yes, this is kind of difficult to explain, but yeah, I just told her that, you know, I'm a teacher. So I'm a teacher.
Easier to
Yeah,
explain.
it's easier to explain. So aside from doing financial advisory, I'm also an adjunct faculty at the Asian Institute of Management, because I'm also passionate, like Alvin here, who teaches in USD. I'm quite passionate in also sharing my knowledge to others. So yeah, so that was basically my career path, no, advisory slash also on the academe. Yeah.
And I think yung parang maganda din kasi sa path and yung story niya, Sir John, is parang at the start pa lang, parang somewhat you already know what you really want to do based on your first-hand experience, your stint sa Grant Thornton and with SGV.
That's right. Kasi I felt that, you know, if you're really passionate about something, 'di ba? You you tend to, you know, stick to it, and you try to be very good at it, no. Knowing, I one of the things that I really tried to hone in already at the start of my career is to really find my niche, no. It's okay to jump from one job to the next, right, as most, you know, as most people do when they are starting out. There's nothing wrong with that, right? um you know, you are obviously, you have the right to move from, if you don't like the job that you're in, you know, it's not worthwhile to agonize and, you know, spend years and years doing something that you don't like to do, right? But if you are able to spot already something that you really like to do, and you are very passionate about it, and you really want to be very good at it, then you're in a good place to really build your career on that. So that
Yeah.
was basically early on, I really had to find where it is that I want to build my career on and just take it from there.
Agree. Um, just for the appreciation of the participants joining us today, especially dun sa mga students, could you share to us what do we do sa consulting field and those na sort of interested in doing consultancy practice? Could you share a bit as to what do they expect in a consultancy practice?
Yeah, well, it's a bit different from from other careers siguro. Um, in if you're doing corporate work, kasi there's a specific task that you're supposed to do, right? But consulting is one form of public practice where you have you cater to the needs of clients, right? And they have specific problems that they want you to solve. So in a way, I remember one senior managing director in Hong Kong would characterize our work as corporate doctors, right? There is a problem, a company is sick, perhaps, or a company has a certain opportunity in the horizon. Um, and we come in either to treat the disease, right? The issue that is plaguing the company, or we try to help them evaluate the opportunity, whether they should go for it or not, right? And obviously, this is all financial terms, right? All in financial terms. So, given all of the financial information that are at our disposal, we try to craft strategies that would help them address the specific need. And there are different services that we provide. It can be transaction advisory service, transaction support. So there's a specific transaction and you're just there to support the company. Like you build a model, you do valuations, you do financial due diligence, you come up with reports that point to certain risk areas of the deal, right? There are others where you assist as the financial advisor in mergers and acquisition, or a company that wants to raise money, right? Through getting loans from a bank or maybe getting an investor in. So we come in as financial advisors there as well. And as mentioned earlier, in the brief introduction, we also assist companies in big ticket projects, power projects, infrastructure projects, mga ganun. But I think the essence really of being a consultant is being there to provide the technical know-how that a company may not have internally, right? And they pay someone else, a third party, for that very specific technical know-how. It doesn't make sense for them to have that technical know-how in-house. So they would rather just get a third party with that technical know-how to assist them in that specific task or issue that they are faced with.
Agree, Sir John. Actually, having also a first-hand experience in consultancy, I could say na working in a consultancy field, it really gives you the opportunity to create and provide value to clients. So I think yun yung one other aspect na fulfilling din.
Yeah. Yung gusto ko sa consulting kasi I knowing myself, obviously you have to be true to yourself, right? I cannot stand routinary work. My curiosity will really kill me. So I like doing shifting from one task to the next.
Yes.
And learning new things every day. So in consulting, what I really like about it is every project is unique, right? Tama ba, Alvin? Even if the service is the same, they have nuances that they can really keep you up at night and really there are things that you really have to figure out on each and every project. So it satisfies my my curiosity in a way. I have this ADHD tendency in that sense now. So that's what I like about consulting.
And also in consultancy, given iba-iba siyang projects, no, you get to expose to different industries as well. And
yes.
it also increases somewhat your network kasi you get to meet different clients, right?
Correct. And in terms of the clients, no, so that's a good point. Kasi in consulting, you relate directly to the C-suite, no. You talk to the
Yes.
CEO, you talk to the CFO, you talk to board members, right? So in terms of building a network, right, it really is a good good career to take.
Yes. I still remember yung times when I was just an associate na
Yes.
I joined in our meetings and then I was shocked ka-meeting na pala natin mga executive levels. So I
Correct,
think,
correct.
yeah,
Oo.
it's a good
Naalala pa,
thing.
sabi pa, para ka raw inutusan lang bumili ng suka ng mama mo because you
Yes.
really look very young.
And that time, I was not actually even wearing corporate attire. Talagang shock
Oo
ako
nga.
sa
Oo nga. I
first
think
meeting
Dress
ko
Down
nun.
Friday kasi tayo nun. So, anyway.
Yes. Just to relate it with CFA, how do you think naman the CFA program or the CFA curriculum help you in your career, or specifically here in consultancy?
Okay. Kasi, back in college, we had, I think, kasi I took business administration and accountancy, right? In UP, there's no finance major, no? There's no course na finance talaga yung focus. Back then, and I think they restructured the course already. But back then, when I was in college, we only had like two finance courses. And I felt
Mm.
that that was not enough for me to really get to understand the nuances of finance. Um, and when I started working in SGV, done it really dawned on me that what I know is really not enough. I don't know enough about, say, hedging instruments. I don't know that. I don't understand synergies. I don't understand a lot of things about valuations, no, the nuances of it. So I looked for a certification, a course, no, that can help augment that lack of knowledge. And I came across the CFA program. In fact, well, I know that the CFA program is around, but I know that it is one of the toughest. And actually, the fact that it was the toughest really also challenged me in a way. Because, okay, sige, if you're really the toughest, then sige nga, let's try our luck here. And yeah, so and through the level 1, level 2, level 3, I really got to appreciate finance better. I got to really understand all the nuances, all the techniques, all the skills that I have to have in me in order to succeed in this career. So yeah, so the CFA program was really instrumental in getting me to where I am at the moment.
Okay. And why do you think if the CFA exam is still relevant in our profession? And to those who would be taking exams, do you have any preparation advice? Kasi nabanggit mo it's one of the toughest na exam.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, it is very relevant. But I have to be honest, no. I felt that level 3, which covers mostly portfolio management, is not uh, too relevant if we're talking about consulting, because we don't really manage portfolios in consulting. So I kind of feel that level 2, up to level 2, you really get to learn a lot that you can actually use in consulting. But that being said, right, you don't get the charter unless you finish all three.
Yeah.
So you have to go through all of them. In terms of tips, and when I took the this I took on this challenge, um, I, I did something that I eventually regretted in a way. um, I decided na, okay, I'm gonna do this CFA program. And at that time, I was dating someone, and I was sure that if I do take on this CFA program, I will have less time for her, right? Um, Kasi it will really eat up a lot of your time, right? The key really to survive this program is to invest in it, no, invest time in it, really understand the topics, read the curriculum materials, and as much as possible, and also go through review materials, no, reviewers, and that will set you back for about 6 months at least, no. You really have to spend the time. They say 200 plus hours of study time is necessary. So I will, ako personally, when I did mine, I after work, and I really do a lot of overtime back in the day, you know. So yeah, 300 hours at the minimum, right, Rochelle? So
Yes.
I work in the office until mga 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the evening. I go home,
Wow.
have my dinner, and then I will study until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then wake up the following day, 7 a.m., so that I can go back to work at 8:30, right? And that's on yun yung schedule ko, 2 hours, 3 hours every night, right? Bahala na magpuyat, basta I get to cover a chapter, right? And then weekends, that's totally devoted already to reading the chapters. So that would take time away from, you know, from the person that I was dating with. So I said, oh, why don't you join me? No, why don't you also take the CFA program with me? So she did. You know, she said, okay, yeah, sure, I'll
Study
take it.
buddy.
Oh, buddy. So it was kind of helpful because in a way it kind of forced me to really be diligent as well. She's very diligent, and you know her, Alvin. No,
Yeah.
she's super diligent, and she's like top in her batch. You know, board top notcher, etc. So niregret ko because nung nag-exam na, oh no, sabi ko, pag bumagsak ako, nakakahiya kasi sigurado ako papasa yun.
Sabay kasi
So,
kayo.
oh my God, talaga, nakakahiya if I ano. So she was very competitive pa. Whenever the results come out, she would want to see my results too. So, ayun, and true enough, she would always get higher marks than me, you know, in terms of the range, diba? So, but yeah, that was fun.
But the important thing, both of you passed naman.
Both of us passed. So she kind of pushed me also. No, she was very diligent. She set schedules for us. You know, I should be able to finish this, and this over these months. Nga ganun. So that kind of helped me push forward with the curriculum. So true enough, after 3 years, you know, one take each. So napasa naman natin yung CFA, and now she's my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And she's yeah. So one of the few, I guess. Uh, Couples in the CFA society, I guess, that are charter holders.
So again, to those who are going to take the CFA exams, I think yung key takeaway dito, really time management. And if you have someone that could be your study buddy mo,
Yeah,
then I
super
think
helpful. If you have a support group, it would be helpful. Although I you know, iba-iba din tayo ng style, right? So there are people who like study groups. There are those who prefer that they study on their own, you know, at their own pace, etc.
mm,
So I guess go for whatever is comfortable for you. If you feel that you are able to absorb material late in the afternoon, then you know, why force yourself early in the morning? Then study in the afternoon or in the evening, right? Or if you like studying in the morning, then you know, do it in the morning. Whatever works, no. So whatever you're comfortable with. There's no. I'd like to think that there's no uh, uh, parang set na ito
mm,
talaga yung the best, no? But I
yeah,
think yung important lang talaga is that you are able to cover everything as much as possible, so that you are prepared, right, for
yes.
whatever that may come out of the exam.
Going back lang doon sa career mo, Sir John, and just to share
Mhm.
to everyone, Sir John kasi at a very young age, he was already promoted to senior managing director. So maybe just to share with everyone, do you have any career management techniques or tips na you want to
Ah.
share that you're able to achieve that role at a very young age?
Yeah, so I'm happy actually that I got to be promoted to senior managing director, which is partner level, no? If we're gonna compare it with the Big Four, after 10 years of working, I was prepared to actually wait until my 40s before I get to partner level, but I was fortunate enough to have had um, senior managing directors who trusted me. And in terms of career management techniques, I'd like to share maybe three things to everyone here. The first one that was honed on me nung palang when I was in college. No, we had this teacher when we were doing our feasibility study. She gave us some tips, career management tips, and I'm sharing it with you too because it really helped me. The very first one that she said was, be the top of mind guy, right? Be the person that if your manager or whoever is the boss in the organization, be the person that they would immediately think of when there's an issue, when there's a project, right? And they know that you are the guy who is going to help them achieve whatever they need to achieve. Be very be the most reliable person among the bunch, right? So, and that really requires a lot of sacrifices as well, because that would mean that you would have to really work your ass off, right? You really have to spend the time. It's not going to be um, the 8 to 5, 9 to 6 type of job if you really want to be the top of mind guy. So I did, I did like 8 to 11 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. type schedules, on a daily basis, so that one, I get to really learn the ropes, kumbaga, because yes, you attend trainings, you attend seminars and whatnot, but the best teacher is really experience. So I really savor the moment when I'm in the office and able to work on my projects, because as I spend more time in my doing the stuff that they need me to do, I get to learn things faster and I become more and more dependable. So that's number one. Be the top of mind guy. Um, be It's like what Yoda said also, no? Yoda Star Wars, no? So he said, do or do not, there is no try, right? Do or do not, there is no try, right? It's either you do it or you don't, right? So, but if you decide to do it, be good at it, be reliable, be the top of mind guy. The next one, the next tip was to always make sure that your boss looks good. No? Parang, ano yun? Parang magiging sip-sip ako? Ganun. No, it's not that. No? So I don't mean that you need to suck up to your higher ups. It's really about doing the best work so that the guy on top of you becomes successful as well. Okay? So because if they are successful, then what you get eventually is a sponsor. Someone who would take you wherever they go, whatever successful path that they are able to take, they will always think of you as their guy. They will always, take you to their journey. So always try to make your boss look good. I know that you will experience nasty bosses, right? Not all bosses are kind, no. So, but to the extent that you know that you can learn and benefit from that person's knowledge and experience and their network, right? Why not build a good rapport with them, right? So all so and the best way to build rapport with them is to make sure that you turn in very good outputs, so that they in turn looks good with their bosses and sa kanilang clients, right? So that's the second one. And then the third one is that please realize that building a career, whatever it is, not only in consulting, but any career, it is not a sprint, right? It is not a sprint. It is a marathon, right? But that being said, it always pays to be ahead of the pack. No, it is not a sprint. It is a marathon, but it's always good to be ahead of the pack. So I try to stay ahead, as much as possible. Attend trainings, workshops, um, read self-help books. They say nga that the biggest asset, people say that, what's your biggest asset? Ikaw, Alvin, what's your biggest asset, do you think? Is it your investments or what? What do you feel is your biggest investment?
Um, I must say my skills, skill set.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Your biggest asset is that thing that is standing on your own 2 feet, yourself, right? Invest in yourself, right? Um, so try to, if your company, right, if your company will not invest in you in terms of providing you with money for attending trainings and workshops, then spend the money yourself, right? Read self-help books. One of yung partner ko sa Punang Bayan and Arauli when I did my internship back then, he told us, so few people read self-help books, right? They read fiction, they read magazines, newspapers,
Or
etc.
they now watch Netflix.
They watch Netflix now, right? Watch TV and movies, etc. They spend the time there. But if you spend the time reading, say, these self-help books, you get to learn how other people became successful too. And it's very refreshing to find out how other people became successful. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Other people have already synthesized how they became successful in a few pages. So why not read them? Read self-help books. And then also, again, be open to working long hours in the office, because it will always help you, in terms of discipline, in terms of building character, and again, and also you always have that can-do attitude. Very important as well.
Those were very helpful, Sir John. I think those were really good advice to our participants here. And in line with what you said, no, doon sa invest yourself, get to look for mga self-development na books din and mga uh, um, podcasts, diba? In
Yeah.
terms of skills, what sorts of skills do you think are needed to develop and to succeed, kumbaga?
Okay, so in our line of work, right, financial advisory, if you're doing if entry level positions, right, associate, senior associate, what people will look for would be your technical skills mostly, right? So build skills in doing building financial models, doing financial statement analysis, um, doing valuations, very important skills, very technical, but very useful as far as that level is concerned. But as you go higher in the organization, um, the skills required in order to move up becomes more and more soft, in the sense that you have to have very good communication skills, ability to express yourself in front of clients and an audience, right? Being able to present well your ideas, being able to also negotiate properly, right? And get the most out of any negotiations. No? So yun yung mga skills that you do need to develop as you progress in this career. Yeah.
Especially in consultancy na a lot of your time would really devote to meeting with clients, discussing your outputs,
Mm.
no?
Exactly, exactly. And here in our firm, FTI Consulting, in fact, we try to accelerate that process pa nga. Sometimes we do ask even our associates or senior associates to present their findings to clients. It's more of to challenge them as well, right? It's also for
Yeah.
their own personal growth. Alvin here is really good at doing presentations now to clients. So yeah, very
Nagulat
important.
naman ako na may praise.
Siyempre,
um,
siyempre.
Now, talking about ethics naman, given
Okay.
as we all know, ethics is something na very important in our line of work. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think was the most confounding ethical situation you've encountered in your career, and how do you think CFA program helped you navigate that?
Okay. Well, it was confounding at the start, right? But now it's like part of the job. Dealing with material non-public information,
Mm,
right? As consultants, kasi you really get the companies would have to open up themselves to you, right? Even the dirty laundry, they would have to show it to you, right?
yeah,
So very important that the company, your client, would trust you with the information that they are going to share, right? um, so it's a very delicate balance because we do have our own investment portfolios, right? And it is tempting sometimes to act on the information, meaning buy and sell stocks, right,
yeah,
related to your client. But early on in my career, especially with the ethics portion of the CFA program, I really got to understand that it is important to maintain um, your uh, your ethical um, uh, I mean, you have to be very ethical, right? Ethical behavior, right? So you really have to make sure that you don't lose the trust and confidence of your clients
yeah,
by one disclosing information to outsiders, third parties who do not need to that information because of the confidential nature, and you don't act on the information um, ahead of others. No? Very important. So yun siguro.
yeah, totally agree. And maraming instances talaga mangyayari diyan in consultancy field. Um, Given our limited time, no, any parting words that you would like to share to those who are interested in pursuing careers in consultancy?
Okay. All right. So parting words. Okay, I do have a few, but let's see, depending on the time, right? So the first one is about integrity. And I think it's in line also with ethics. When I was in SGV, si Washington CSIP, he was very old already then, and obviously he's passed away. And it's actually his 100th birthday yata this year. um, he went up on stage in one of our anniversary celebrations, and I was kind of looking forward to what he has to say, because given that he's like the person who has been there, done that, what what wisdom will he share with us? And you know what, his he really emphasized on the need to have integrity. You know, mawala na lahat, right? Be a man of integrity. That's what he said. Um, Integrity means being whole, being true to yourself. It is that what it's the answer to the question, what do you do when no one is looking, right?
Mhm.
Because secrets have their ways of being known to others, right? So it's going to be very uh, yeah, it will rebound badly on you if you are not true to yourself. Speak whatever or do whatever it is that you're preaching, basically. So be a man of integrity. The next one is, um, they say ito yung elements talaga of success, right? um, Two elements of success: courage and persistence, right? And I think they sum it up into one word, four-letter word: grit, right? Companies are really, really nowadays, they're looking for persons with grit, right? And what is it, right? And let me tell you a story, and I think this is one of your favorite stories as well, Alvin. So, and I'd like to share it with everyone. This is a story about the chicken eagle, right? The chicken eagle. And I don't know if anyone here has heard of it. I heard this when we were about to take the CPA board exams. Our reviewer sa SIPAR, he was our law and tax reviewer then, and he told us this story, very inspirational. So he said, okay, there was what before, no, there was this nest, no, full of eagles' eggs. No? So the mommy eagle left the nest to find food, right? She left the eggs in the nest. One of the eggs was quite restless, right? He wanted to get out already. So he shake, right? And unfortunately, because of his movements, he fell down from the nest and dropped to the ground. And uh, well, fortunately or unfortunately for him, a hen passed by, right? And then the hen thought that it was her egg, right? So what she did, she warmed the egg, right? She warmed it until it hatched, right? And then when it hatched, obviously, like what fowls in terms of their behavior, no, what they think of is the first person or first thing that they see, it's their mom, right? So nakita the eaglet saw the hen. So he thought that he was a chicken, right? So all his life, right, he was playing with other chickens, scratching here and there, never really learned to fly, right? One day, he saw his brothers, now the other chickens, they were running. And he was like, hey, why are you running? And they told him, run, hide. The eagles are coming, right? And he looked up and he saw, oh my God, the eagles are really coming and they are going to eat them, right? So he looked up and said, um, if only I'm an eagle. And then he ran away, right? So what's the moral of the story, right? What is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is, if you think you are a chicken, you will die a chicken, right? Be eagles, right? All of us are born with innate talents and abilities, right? Take advantage of all of your God-given talents, right? Hone it and be good at whatever it is that you want to do in life, and you will reap the benefits. If you do not have the courage and persistence to be good at whatever it is that you eventually will be doing, it will be very difficult for you to soar with the eagles. Ayun. So that's a second one. And then last one, if you want to succeed in life, you know, and I always share this with, I sometimes share this with my team, be willing to share, right? And I hope you can give me the time to tell you another story, right? This is a story about the farmer and the corn, right? So, um, so there was this sa US, right? Sa US, they have these farms, right? They have these festivals, right? Sa mga rural counties nila, and they would have contests, the best or the biggest squash, the biggest pumpkin, ganun. But this time, this one is a farmer who produces corn, and this farmer regularly, every year he wins best corn award every year consistently. So, people are amazed, obviously, right? How is he able to maintain the quality of his corn? So a reporter came up to him, and the reporter asked, what's the secret? Can you share us your secret? And you tell us. And everyone was surprised with the secret, right? His secret was, I give away my best seeds to my neighbors. And everyone was like, what? In order to have the best corn, you give your best seeds to others? Parang, how is that possible? And he's like, well, because of cross-pollination, if the farm next to me, the farms around me have bad seeds, right, then it will just ruin my crop. So in order for me to succeed, I have to help others succeed as well. So actually, yun yung last kong point to everyone here. If you want to be successful in life, no, help others succeed too, right? Because if they are successful, then they will take you to in their journey as well. So yeah, so those are my parting words, Avin.
Thank you, Sir John, for sharing those stories. Actually, uh, until now, talagang gustong-gusto ko yung story na yan. And talagang it really gives good words and parang magandang advice to everyone. Thank you. So now it's the time to answer naman the questions that our participants have. So
Mhm.
if you have questions to those who are attending live right now, no, please feel free to type in your questions in our chat box, and we'll read them, and will Sir John here will answer those questions. I actually received already some questions. Let me read the questions now. This is the first question. When do you think about what you want for the future? What are some of the trade-offs that you would consider?
Sorry, if you're
When you think about what you want for the future, what are
okay.
some of the trade-offs that you would consider?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, good question. No, so life is about trade-offs, guys. No, so if you want to a certain uh, to achieve a certain level in terms of your career, you have to put in the work. Very important. There's always the trade-off. Time with family versus time doing work, right? Um, and it is a constant balancing act, unfortunately, and there's no going around it. There's no shortcut to success, unfortunately. Others may be lucky, right? But if you want to ask me what is the sure proof way to succeed in life, it's that willingness to accept trade-offs. you know um my wife and I decided not to get married until we're almost in the 30s, because we felt that it is important that we are both stable muna in our finances, right? Both our families are secure before we build a family of our own. So that was a trade-off, right? The next one is, if you now that I have a family, very important, right? Family time versus time at work. And this work from home setup actually really works for me, because I get to spend time with my kids now, while also doing work. They kind of sometimes crash into my Zoom meetings, but at least I get to spend time with them. But I think it's very you have to accept the trade-offs in relation to time that you need to spend in this type of career.
Agree. We have here another question that's from Diane, and her
Mhm.
question is, what do you think are the most challenging financial regulations?
The most challenging financial regulations. Oh, uh, well, as far as I guess advisory is concerned, I think yung ginagawa namin, no, yung pinaka challenging right now would be uh, one, uh, the competitive selection process in getting contracts with with distribution utilities. Very difficult for us to secure long-term contracts with electric cooperatives at this time. So our clients are having difficulty getting their projects off the ground. Um, Very significant to us. Very challenging then as far as M&A is concerned, yung sa requirements ng competition commission. But we do agree that very important then that we make sure that any anti-competitive behavior is thwarted by government. So I guess it's just necessary, for to ensure that we have a good and sound economy. Um, Medyo challenging din siguro yung banking rules natin, but again, very very ano rin naman, apt and necessary. So there yung mga regulations natin naman, I would say that they are strict, but I would say naman they are necessary in order to make sure that the investors have confidence in us, as an investment destination. So I will not fault the the regulations for for being as strict as they are.
Agree. Maybe for as the last question, no? Actually, this is interesting. How different is consulting compared to investment research or investment banking? Because sometimes, di ba,
Okay.
parang nako-compare yung consulting with investment banking.
Right, right. Okay. So so investment banking, no. So when and maraming forms ng investment banking, but at least the one that I know of, parang M&A din eh. Parang they try to come up with deals, right? So what they do is they try to match a buyer and a seller in a transaction, right? Um, and then they help finance the transaction, right? So that is basically investment banking. Um, Ours kasi in consulting, aside from M&A, we also do other things. Like for example, corporate restructuring, helping companies in distress. For example, negotiate with banks to get a reprieve, for example, restructure their loans. So that angle is very different from investment banking, I suppose. Helping them through a corporate rehabilitation, which is a court process. So also something that investment bankers will not touch as well. Um, we we do may mga aspects ng transaction that we do piecemeal kasi most investment bankers they will do the financial model and valuation, etc. But what in our case kasi we can do these services independent of the deal. So we come in as an independent party, right? Kasi sometimes the investment bankers are compensated based on the successful completion of a transaction. So in that sense, they are conflicted because they will push for the deal to close, right? However, we come in as an independent party to a transaction. We will assess whether it is worth it or not, right? So that's where an independent consulting firm like us would step in as well. So yeah, so may similarities, but there are also differences.
All right. Thank you, Sir John. I think that ends our ating webinar series for tonight. And again, on behalf of CFA Society Philippines, so we are very grateful to have you, Sir John, as our speaker for tonight. And thank you for all the stories and the advice tips that you shared tonight.
Thank you as well. It was a pleasure to be part of this very meaningful series. So thank you so much, CFA Philippines.
Thank you,
Let me now
John.
turn
Thank you.
let me now turn
Sorry.
over to our host, Ms. Rizal.
Thank you, Alvin. Thank you, John. John, I would like to thank you for your time today. I'm sure that everyone enjoyed the session as I also did. And I also learned a great deal today. I like your stories.
Thank
And
you.
we would like to present to you an e-certificate to recognize your contribution for today's webinar, part of the Career Guide webinar series. Entitled Invest in Your Career to Reach the Top. Let me just read the citation. So, CFA Society Philippines presents this certificate of appreciation to you, John Balce, CFA, for sharing your knowledge and experiences during the webinar entitled Invest in Your Career to Reach the Top, focusing on the career path consulting via Zoom and Facebook Live, given this day of July 7, 2021, signed by our President and Chairman, Dr. Robert Ramos.
Thank you
And
so
for
much.
Yes. Alvin, ang saya because we have you today. Na-surprise natin si John Balce. And I think
Yeah.
very very engaging because you already know each other, you know the questions to ask. And you've been you John and Alvin, you've been for the CFA Society Philippines for quite a number of years already. And we're very, very glad that you continue to help the society. And we look forward to, of course, having you still in the next
course.
years to come. And
Anytime.
yeah, thank you, John. Thank you, Alvin. This concludes our webinar. For those who have attended via Zoom,